Hello, everyone. This is Sharon Jenkins. I am the Master Communicator. I am so glad that you decided to join us today. And I just want to say, welcome to the Literary Fellowship. We have tons of great guests today. Rochelle Carter and her crew, she is in the house. Ellicor Publishing is in the house. And I just want to say you are welcome to the Literary Fellowship today. Now, what I want to share with you is the fact that we are offering authors a lot of opportunities in the month of September and October. I want you to go to my LinkedIn page, look for the Master Communicator on LinkedIn, and check out my post about Miss Rochelle Carter that gives you an overview of who she is and how we met. And Rochelle, do you remember how we met?
Actually, I don't.
Come on now.
Wait, no, I think you emailed me.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, that's okay.
Can you tell them why we met?
So you emailed me because you and I both wrote a book on entrepreneurship,
Yeah.
and we both agreed. You mentioned it, and we both agreed that there was an opportunity for us to work together on that. Because I come from the business side of publishing, and you're looking at it from the writer's side, which honestly I have no idea how you guys get things written. But Sharon's great at that. She's great at pulling the stories out of people, and it's a really great idea for us to work together, because when it comes to entrepreneurship, the idea is not it's not single focused, and it's not just a fad or something that's coming in and out. It's something that you really plan on people, taking to heart and using on a regular day-to-day basis. And so, with us working together, we're gonna make it a reality.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, Rochelle Carter and I call ourselves the dynamic duo of entrepreneurship. So, Rochelle, in light of the fact that we are the dynamic duo, I am going to take a back seat, and the show is now yours.
That sounds so scary, Sharon, but I will try to do your show justice. You guys could see, this is why I wanted to use the picture, right? Because everyone can see all my facial expressions when I hear things, and I'm like, whoa, yay, okay. So awesome. So today on the show, we've got three of my Ellicor authors that I really wanted to feature and talk about. We've got experienced, we've got entrepreneur in true spirit, that's you, Bill. And then we've got new, that's Nathan. So between Dianna, Benson, Nathan Lumbatis, and Bill Pottle, we're all going to just have a little conversation here. I'm going to ask them some questions. A couple of them I've been dying to ask them myself, so you guys will maybe have to scramble because it'll be the first time you've heard it. Dianna, if you want to go on mute. I see your lovely face so much. It's beautiful. Hi. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let each and every one of you tell us a little bit about yourself first. Just don't go into too much detail because I've got a lot of questions. I don't want you to answer it too soon. So your name, your most recent title, and just a little something about yourself that you want listeners to know. So I'm going to start with Dianna.
She needs to unmute herself, I think.
I just did. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Hi, I'm Dianna T. Benson, and my newest release came out in June, and it's called Final Trimester. I write suspense. I'm also an EMT and a hazmat and FEMA operative. So with all of my suspense novels, I naturally input my rescue, emergency medical expertise and knowledge in there.
Awesome. And Bill, you're next. Tell us a little bit about you.
So my name is Bill. I'm full-time. I work as a martial arts instructor and write a lot of martial arts books. With regards to that, my newest release with Ellicor is called Alazel's Song, and it's a kind of a retelling of the war in heaven between Lucifer and Michael.
And Nathan, you're up last.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm Nathan Lumbatis. I'm a therapist. I work with children and adolescents a lot. My first title is Daniel and the Sun Sword, And in it, I took a lot of my experience in working with kids, especially kids who had been in the adoption system, and kind of worked that in there, and talking about being adopted by God and growing personally. And I've got 2.5 kids on the way, and so I'm super busy all the time.
Awesome. Yeah, so I think, is Bill, your wife is the one that's pregnant again too, right?
Yes, that's correct. We having a baby in about a month.
Awesome. You guys are just popping them out. It's great. I love it. So, okay, so this is a question that's for everybody, all three of you. And so we'll start with Bill. We'll do Bill, Dianna, then Nathan. And my first question is going to be, when did you decide that you would actually pursue writing as a legitimate opportunity for yourself rather than just write for fun?
That's a good question. I mean, I started my first book when I was 11, and I kind of always, I thought it would be a lot easier than it actually is. So even back then, I thought, yeah, I'll be an author. Didn't actually finish that book until I was like 23. So it was definitely, quite the journey to get that done. And then, with our martial arts school, we really find that writing works really well together. So, we write all kinds of books about martial arts. We sell them to our students. It's just kind of like a natural outgrowth of everything that we do. We work hard on managing the school, so then we write a book about how to manage the school. This Alizelle songbook, this also took about 10 years to finish. Just always something I really wanted to write about. Had no idea, the market for it or if the book would even be good. So, it was a real blessing to find Elacor and Rochelle and be able to take this to the next level.
Awesome. All right, Dianna, your question.
I think it was when I landed my first agent in 2007. I started my first book in 1993 when my oldest was a newborn. But I landed my first agent in 2007, and I think that's when I knew, I could make this work.
That's awesome. And Nathan, you're last.
I started, actually, my sister and I homeschooled when I was in high school and she was in middle school. And so we had a lot of time on our hands, and we lived out in the country. So we would kind of go up in the woods and play around, and I had this little notebook, and so I would sit there and write and write and write. And I kind of just wrote on and off all through high school and college. And then finally when I got married, I actually really started trying to write seriously, and I made pretty much every mistake that a new author can make, whether it was from submitting too quickly or just not really knowing about the mechanics of writing. And I probably was rejected 100 times, so I have a lot of experience with rejection, so that's super fun. But then I just really felt, and I hadn't written anything for the Christian market before, so I just felt impressed that that's who I am, and so that's what I needed to do. And so I started writing Daniel and the Sun Sword, and that's how it happened.
That's when you got your contract. Yay, yep. Nathan. Okay, so on that same tool, I'm going to keep you on, Nathan. How many books have you written not necessarily published? So how many books have you just written, period?
3, and the last one I worked on for probably 7 years and rewrote the whole thing 10 times.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dianna, how many books have you written?
My first release, The Hidden Sun, was actually my 5th completed novel. So I landed my first agent in 2007 with The Hidden Sun. And those other 4 novels, manuscripts, yeah, they'll definitely just kind of stay in the computer. So yeah, and then Final Trimester is my 6th. Then my next release that comes out in March, that's my 7th. So yeah.
Persephone's Fugitive.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. That comes out.
And what was the longest it took you to finish a manuscript?
Oh, that's a good. I'd have to think of that. I think my 3rd book, because I had rewritten it and rewrote it and rewrote it and rewrote it so many times, and then kind of put it aside. and then tried the fourth one and just thought, oh, that's just not going to work. And then the fifth one, which is The Hidden Sun, that came out last March, that one just worked. But it's definitely not the first draft by far. You know what I mean? I mean, it took several, and I mean major rewrites too.
It wasn't the first, but it was certainly the best.
Well, I love rewriting. You talk to a lot of authors and they say, I hate rewriting. I absolutely love revisions because you get to take your work and you make it even better. And I love that. I absolutely love to revise. I'll do it again and again and again, no problem. As you well know, Rochelle, no problem.
I'm going to try something a little different. Can you guys still hear me okay?
Yeah.
Is it better or worse?
I don't notice either way.
Yeah, okay. It was good for me the first time.
Okay, I had my headset in and I tried taking it out. Bill, your question: how many books have you written?
Yeah,
unpublished, or you can probably include published too, because I know you self-published a lot.
Yeah, I was thinking I'm not sure, somewhere around like 10, 12. It's kind of hard because you know, we have one book called The Princess and the Ogre. It's martial arts nursery rhymes. I mean, we wrote it in 1 week. It's really, really short, like maybe, you know, 2,000-3,000 words. Obviously, that's not really on the same level as a full novel that's, you know, rewritten many times and edited many times and all that. But yeah, I think somewhere around 10 books. So
that's a lot. So when you get through your books, you've written 10. Dianna's written at least 6. She's working on her 7th and 8th and 9th and 10th and 11th. She's got a long contract with us. We saw talent and we hemmed her up for quite a few years. And Nathan has his one. So my question to each of you is going to be, how did you know that, or when did you decide that the book that you currently published was one that you were going to seek publication for? So in Bill, your case, you self-published a lot, and you kind of know the ins and outs of that. You're actually the consummate authorpreneur because you wrote books about your business, your taekwondo, your dojo, and you've really done exactly what, you know, authorpreneurship is about. And so for you, what made you decide that you would look for publication of your book rather than doing it yourself?
Yeah, so for Alizel's Song, I just kind of thought this book was so different from the other ones that we had written, and it wasn't really anything to do with martial arts at all, and I just wanted to take a shot on it. I thought this book was something special. It had you know, a lot of research that went into it over the years. It tied together many things from, you know, the Bible, Apocrypha, you know, biology, physics, theoretical physics, all this stuff together. So I thought, let's give it a try, and you know, got lucky.
Awesome. That's all you can ask for. Give it a try. So Dianna, when did you decide that The Hidden Sun was the book that you were going to publish?
You know, it was actually book 4. Oh gosh, what was it called? Top of the World. That's right. And I had tons of agent interest in that and requests for fulls, and I actually had Kensington that had made an offer, and that was 10 years ago, so a long time ago. And then I just kind of realized I wanted to go into the Christian market. So then I started The Hidden Sun and kind of went with that. And I think it started flowing really well for me. And I just felt like, ooh, this is it. This one is it. So I can't really put into any more words than just saying it was a feeling that I had. And I knew that writing Christian was the way to go for me, because I write suspense, but I don't like writing heavy gore, and I don't like writing the cuss words or the sex scenes or any of that stuff. And so my agent's like, Dianna, you really write inspiration. She was actually the one that told me. I didn't even know there was such a thing as inspirational suspense. I really didn't. And so when my husband got cancer and I kind of put my writing on hold, I started, let's see these books. And so I started picking up inspirational suspense, and I just loved reading them. So there you go. That's about how it happened for me.
Awesome. And Dianna, I will say I got the most interesting call from a reader called the Christian Books Today line, asked me about you, and she wanted to know, does she have any more books out? Because I see that one is supposed to be out. She read The Hidden Sun. I see that one's supposed to be out, but they don't have it at my local used bookstore. And I said, well, no, the final trimester just came out. I don't know if your used bookstore has it, but if you'd like, I'm happy to send you a review copy. What she loved most about it was that she called it plain writing. There was no curse words. There wasn't anything that she had to, black out with a black mark because it offended her eyes and her ears.
Right.
And she was really grateful for that. She said, you'd be surprised how many Christian books that she picks up that don't have that same kind of plain writing. And
I did an interview this week, and the guy had asked me, and I believe it was just Christian authors he interviews, and he had said to me, well, what about the cuss words? Because a lot of times in suspense and thrillers and horror, you need those cuss words. And I said, I know, I worried about that. I was very concerned. What am I going to do? I said, you know what I actually found is it was better writing. Because instead of just throwing in a cuss word, I actually had to show my readers what the killer was thinking, or any of the characters, and it actually is better writing, is what I found. And he said, that is very interesting. So, yeah, I like it.
And it's not to say that everyone else's writing is bad, but when
exactly.
you decide to go a certain way, you have to be more creative about it, right? You can't just leave it out and go on about your merry way.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Great. And so Nathan, I know that you're not the one, but you've submitted several manuscripts, it sounds like, for publication. And so what I'd ask is, was there a point where there was a first manuscript that you decided after you'd already created others? And then what made you decide to keep going after the previous reductions?
Well, I think I'm one of the many authors that have labored under the misconception that, if you write a book, you're suddenly going to become very rich and successful, and then you can work from home all the time. So when I first started out in my younger years, I was like, wow, that's going to be great and awesome. And it really was just one manuscript that I rewrote over and over and over again that I kept submitting. But after about 7 years, I'm a slow learner. After about 7 years, I finally was like, well, yeah, I probably need to put this one on the back burner, because I still really like the idea, and I want to revisit it one day. But it was time. It was time to put it on the back burner, and then I felt like I could take what I had learned through all of the rejections, and really kind of put that into a manuscript. And kind of like Dianna, as I was writing it, I was like, wow, this is flowing so much more easily, and I had outlined the whole thing, which I had never done before, with the other manuscript, which was really important. And so that just helped my thoughts flow, and it was kind of at that point that I finally felt like I had a good chance of getting it accepted somewhere.
And you did.
Yeah, yay.
So what I think is really interesting about your story, Nathan, is you said that you actually outlined your manuscript. By a show of hands or eye, who else has actually outlined their entire manuscript?
Oh, wow.
Bill, have you?
I usually do not. Sometimes for nonfiction, I'll think of it, but when it's fiction, I just start writing. And I usually have, like, in my mind, a very, very rough outline. I don't know any of the subplots or even any of the characters. I just kind of trust that they'll come on time. I guess that's kind of an advantage of writing a book over 5 or 10 years, that you don't have to plan as well.
You just take your time. Whatever the name will come to you when it's ready. So I think that's interesting, Nathan. The reason I asked the other two that question is because when I wrote the 7-Step Guide to Authorpreneurship, I outlined it. I re-outlined it, I wrote a new outline, I shared the outline with people, and then I continued breaking down the outline. I literally had like a little short, a blurb for each section on what it was supposed to be about. And going through that and then reading like my blurb and then reading my actual manuscript was how Veronica, our managing editor, that was when she was telling me, Rochelle, this section isn't really delivering on what you said it would at the beginning. And I think it really helped, for me as the kind of writer that I think that I am. I think I get my ideas out, but I need a little bit more help. Hi, Sharon. Is our time up? You told me to just talk.
not time out. I want you to talk. That's not what's going on here. I wanted to comment on what you said.
Oh, okay.
I've done it both ways. I've outlined my book and then I've just sat down and wrote. I mean, especially when I was writing a screenplay, I just sat down and wrote. But with my books, I've outlined them and it helps me. It helps me to stay on track. When you're doing nonfiction, when fiction, that just kind of blows your mind sometimes. But I learned how to do that from Sharon Norris Elliott when she did her Authorize Me session.
Okay.
And it just, she has a way where you can create your book off of sticky notes. You just put the outline on your sticky notes and they follow you wherever you go. And you could be at work and you could write, you know, be writing on your book because you've got your outline. You can travel. You got your outline with you. You paste it up on the wall. I think that's a fabulous thing to do. That's my 2 cents. And now I'm going to go back and sit down.
So, speaking of not outlining fiction books, so I did outline my fiction book as well. It's not written, obviously, it's not finished. I have set myself a deadline for 2015, but I wrote all the characters, Bill. I gave them all names. I gave them all a little backstory. Whether or not we get into it in the story is beyond me, but I literally gave everybody a backstory. They have favorite drinks, favorite colors, favorite places that they like to go. It's really, I'm a weird writer. But anyway, so I'm going to pick on Bill for a second. Bill, you are I don't want to say typical entrepreneur, but when I think of an example of an entrepreneur, and you saw that I did add you in my book, your name and what you do with your dojo is what comes to my mind. And so I want to take you back just a little bit further and say, what made you decide to write about running a dojo, write about Taekwondo, and you know, starting to make that as a part of your business, because it's really become kind of like a family business, right? Your wife even has a contract with us now. So what made you decide to just start that in the first place?
I mean, it was just kind of a natural just outgrowth of running the business. I mean, the first book that I wrote was just a handbook for our students. You know, this is this is how you enter the class. This is, you know, how you sit correctly. This is how you do the first form. This is what you need to know to get a yellow belt. You know, all that stuff. And I just we wrote that down. And then I am also teaching a couple of colleges. Then we use that as a textbook for the class. And financially, that's actually by far my most successful book. Because, you know, we sell it for $30, and it's significantly cheaper than the other textbooks that they're going to get, and you know, it costs us maybe $5 to $10 to print it, so it's a pretty good profit, you know, per
I need
copy.
to start teaching.
It's just something that we used. We just kept going. You know, the next book was about how to teach martial arts, so we just wrote it as a guide for our instructors, because you know, my wife and I realized we're going to have a terrible quality of life if we have to work until 9 o'clock every single day for the next 40 years. And there's only so many people that, you know, one person can actually teach. So then we started working on instructor training and really getting that down. And now we have dozens of instructors that help us in classes and open their own classes. And that the book we wrote is a critical part of that. And it's more than just books. Like we also made like a DVD. We also made a smartphone app for our instructors. We made a course on Moodle that we run off our server, so instructors can go and then, you know, ask them all kinds of multiple choice questions, and then they get certified if they do it or not. The school owner's book was really just a pretty easy book to write, because about half of it was just from our own internal documents, like our operating procedures and our things like that. And we just gathered it all together and, you know, generalized it a little bit, and then we had that book. So it's really just a normal outgrowth of whatever makes sense at the time for us, and then, you know, whatever format makes sense. We also have a a news blog where we just write, results from tournaments or stories about special students, stuff like that. So that's obviously not books, but it's still writing. So just kind of
It's still writing.
whatever we have an idea at the time, whatever it might work out well, whatever it could be a profitable use of time and resources, and we just go for it. It wasn't necessarily all planned. It might look like that now if we look back on it. We're like, oh, we were going on this certain course, but it wasn't really. It was just whatever. It kind of made sense at the time, and that's what we did.
And you've been running your dojo for how many years?
For 10 years now.
10 years. That's awesome.
And my wife is a good author too, and she, helped with a lot of these books, like the instructor training book or the school owners book, and then her book for Elicor was completely different than any of these books. It's also a book about angels, and it's completely different than my book about angels too. So it's kind of interesting. I'm really looking forward to it coming out.
Absolutely. And so one of the things that you said when you think about being an entrepreneur, Sharon and you and I have had this conversation before about a new program I'm sort of working on called Brand Your Expertise with a Book. And I was talking to Faith and Culture Northwest Connection Writers Group last night, actually, Thursday night. And, I had a whole talk prepared for them, but as I was listening, I heard a lot of people that, sort of had ideas for books, but didn't quite get it done. And I said, well, when I think of brand your expertise with a book, you can really brand anything, brand your faith, brand your business, brand your experiences in life. And the key to that is, whatever's keeping you up at night. For Bill, that was the fact that him and his wife, they couldn't run the entire dojo forever by themselves. Whatever is keeping you up at night, write about that. Come up with a way to get those ideas out of your head and onto a paper where it can serve you. I sort of did the same thing with 7-Step Guide to Authorpreneurship, because the more authors that we had and the more books we had going on, I would forget things sometimes. I would say, oh, well, we're doing this and we've got like 5 people in queue, and one person gets the full 7 steps, the other person only gets 3 of them. The other person, we just barely got the interior and the editing done right before the book gets published. And one thing that I noticed last year was that I just really wanted to be more consistent, and I also wanted my authors to give me a little bit more accountability. Like, Rochelle, it's June, my book's coming out in 3 months, shouldn't we be sending out review copies? And so it started out as just actually a free guide for you guys. I apologize, it's no longer free. But, that was really my idea. It's just I don't have enough time in the day, and I don't want to spend, I didn't want to spend all my time just lecturing authors and, having the same conversations over and over again. But even more than that, I did not want to provide the knowledge. It wasn't an option for me to say, I don't have time for you. It was that's never one of my options, and I really prefer not to, but I just spend so much time emailing and talking on the phone. That's why you guys now have a calendar you have to register for me on, because otherwise I would just let my whole day go talking to authors and talking to potential authors and, people who just want to know about publishing, and I'd never get anything done. I do have a full-time day job, and my boss does want me to work at some point during the day and, do his stuff. So, yeah, I think it's great when you think about the nonfiction books, right? It's really about sharing of yourself, and each of us are unique. And so even if we're writing on the same topic, we have different takes. Like, Sharon's written on entrepreneurship, but she's more mature than I am, but she's also thinking of it from a different perspective because she's got a different experience with the concept of author entrepreneurship. And so it's working together. I think that actually helps people who would benefit from us being a tag team versus just one or the other, because we can really address both sides of things. So my next question is going to go to Dianna because it's about 8:30. Okay. My next question is going to go to Dianna because Dianna actually has some publishing experience in her background. And I want Dianna to tell us a little bit about that and how she feels it has served her as she got an agent and got a publishing contract and has been moving forward, becoming an award-winning author. She just won the 2014 Sela Award, and it's actually for the same book, The Hidden Sun, which won the Genesis Award with the American Christian Fiction Writers Association. So, you know, Dianna's the winner. And so just tell us, Dianna, a little bit about how understanding the process has really best served you.
Actually, the one that won the Genesis was Illusion of Safety.
Oh, yes, you're right. I'm sorry. That one hasn't come out yet, but it's coming soon.
Yes. That's a completely different series. Yeah, for that one. Now, what do you mean as far as prior publications? Do you mean as far as how long I've been in the industry?
Yes, as far as how long you've been in the industry and what you've learned along the way and how taking the time to be educated has helped you.
Oh, absolutely. Like I said, I started my first book in 1993 when my oldest was a newborn. And it took me several years to write that book. And then after my fifth book, which was The Hidden Sun, that's when I realized, you know, it's time to, I can make a difference, or I can make this work. But as far as the things I've learned is really listening to other people's input, getting in a great critique group, and listening to what they have to say. I mean, and it's not necessarily if two people say the same thing, then you need to listen to them, but really take your thoughts and listen to what they have to say and kind of process that. And to listen to your critique partners, and then I have a group of beta readers who read my work as well, and then they go through it and then they tell me their thoughts. And like I said, I'm a huge reviser. I love to revise. And my agents are great. I mean, my first agent, she's the one that led me to, if it wasn't for her, I would never have found inspirational suspense. So I learned that from her. So I really take heart on listening to what all these experts and people who've been around have to say. But what works for somebody doesn't work for somebody else. So, you know, I always take in consideration what they're saying, and it may work and it may not. And then all the writers groups that I've been in as far as romance writers, I kind of started there, but I don't really write romance, but it was a good place to start. Then I got into American mystery writers, and now, of course, American Christian Fiction Writers, which is just a great group of organization. They have online critique groups and just wonderful support for authors to lead you in the right direction. And then you just kind of put all that together and step by step learn what works for you as an author and within your writing, and find your way. Did that answer your question?
Absolutely. And so I love Dianna's, yes, it does. I love Dianna's approach to getting published and writing, because, you know, a lot of times we'll run into authors. One of my very first authors with Ellicor actually it was probably about 13,000 words and wanted no parts of, you know, revising or expanding. And for me, you know, kind of my thought is, well, here you have somebody interested in publishing your work, and they want to make it the best work possible. And you have no interest in listening to anything, like no suggestions, no ideas, no nothing, you know best. And I kind of wonder, you know, if you knew best, then you wouldn't have a contract with me. You'd just be doing your own thing and self-publish and just, you know, trucking along without me. And so I always think that's interesting, and it's something that I now incorporate. I started doing author interviews. Dianna, you had an author interview before we offered you a contract. And, you know, a couple of things that we talked about. One was, what's the most important thing to you as an author that you want your publishing company to help you with? But one of the other things, I don't know if you remember this, that I mentioned was being open to the editors and the graphic design, and just kind of, you know, hearing what we're trying to say and understand that we're coming from a place of love. You know, we write our contracts so that we have final say, but I like to do what's called creative publishing, which means I want you to give me your input. Mm-hmm. I want to know what you think, and I want to take your ideas as an author into consideration, but at the same time, you have to give that back and take what other people are saying into consideration.
Well, and you have to step back, too. You know, sometimes as the author, we're too close to the work. So you and Veronica and the art department, Lisa, she was great. You know, you guys can, you're step back. And so you can have that second eye kind of thing, or you don't have that emotional detachment like I have writing all those months. And see, I know that. I have no problem. So, because I feel this is business. This is not my child. My 3 children are actually people. My books are not my babies. So if you have something constructive criticism, please tell me. This is business. You can't hurt my feelings. I will listen, and I mean, I love the input because then I can take it and make it better. There's no use of putting it out there. I'd rather hear it from Veronica or you or a beta reader or my critique partners than the public in a review.
Yes, because the readers don't care that it's your baby and you didn't want to change anything and you were being honest to yourself. They're just going to rip you a new one.
That's right. Right. So I'd rather hear it from you guys.
Absolutely. And so I think it's interesting, Dianna, because it reflects in your future work, right? Every manuscript that you send us, you take all this time and energy on it. But for Veronica, she loves it because then she can really get to perfecting it and making it the absolute best it can be, rather than constantly dealing with the same minor mistakes that, a new author or inexperienced author might make. So the next person I'm going to put in the hot seat for a second, or the last person because there's only 3 of you, Nathan, it's your turn. So I did grill you a little bit about your publishing or your attempts at publishing in the past, but what I really want to grill you on this time is going from what Dianna just talked about, listening and paying attention. What I've noticed about you is that whenever we're offering something or suggesting something or promoting something that we think is helpful for the authors, I think I've seen that Nathan's been there. He was participating in the monthly marketing calls that we were doing for a while. It was just him and Maria. And he sends out questions, and he's been following along what the other authors are doing and asking questions himself of us, kind of what's going on, what's coming up. These are some ideas I had. And I think that you had some mock-ups done, right, of the characters in your book. You had some, I don't know what the art is called.
Yeah, well, just some conceptual art. It was, and that was through Fiverr.com, which Bill had actually given me that web address. So thanks, Bill. But and it's a great website where you can actually get anybody who, I guess, if you have a skill, whether it's an artist or voice overlay or whatever, you can contact people there, and then they can they'll put together something for you. So we had contacted somebody and I liked their art that they had done, and paid them some money, and they did some stuff that I liked, and so that kind of helped create some content for the website.
Awesome. And so what motivates you? I don't want to say what are you thinking because it sounds bad. I like what you're thinking, I think. But, kind of what's going on in your mind when you're, as a new author, this is your first published book, or going to be your first published book, your first time being accepted as an author. And, why aren't you just sitting back doing nothing and waiting for someone to tell you exactly what to do and order you around?
Yeah. Well, it'd be great if there was somebody that was right there that was kind of like my servant who would do that for me. But I think you have to be a very, very famous author before something like that happens. So what's going through my mind, one of the key things that goes through my mind is who is my target audience, and how am I going to get them interested in my story, and even have them have any sort of idea that my story is out there once it does come out there, so that by the time that my book comes out, I'm not starting from scratch and really scrambling. So, I won't say that I've been the most organized person in trying different ideas, but I think Eloquent has done it, and all the other authors there have done a good job of kind of giving me advice about different things to try. So I've just been trying to be creative with ideas that I think will kind of put me in the view of my target audience, which is young adult, which can be a really hard audience to get to, because a lot of times when you're on the lower end of the young adult spectrum, and you're kind of in between middle grade and young adult, and a lot of times their parents are the ones that are buying them books, or they're buying them through their libraries. But when you're really trying to target to them specifically, the social media that they're on, it's very visually oriented. Like Instagram, for instance, I think is one of the top social media websites that my target audience uses. And so it's completely visual. And so that was again one of the inspirations for me, kind of trying to seek out some conceptual art, because I knew that if I had something that was visually stimulating and interesting, that I had a better chance of getting out there in front of my target audience. So that
Absolutely.
answered your question.
It does. And, the reason I wanted you on this call with us, sort of my little trio of representation of the different areas that authors come in. Some are business authors and then they take a foray into fiction. Some are experienced and they've done it a lot of times and they're just looking for some support. Some are just kind of brand new. And with some of the brand new authors, I think there's a lot of hesitation sometimes to dive in and start thinking about that target audience. But the truth is that at this point as a new author, especially when you're waiting for publication, you know the most about your manuscript. You know the most about, kind of what's in your book. And this is a great time in this quote unquote lull where you're waiting to get your book published to really hone down your target audience and figure out how to reach the people that you think you're trying to reach, but also in the process of trying it, right? Realizing, is this actually my target audience? Wait, no, their parents buy a lot of these books, so I have to reach the parents too, and allow the parents to understand that this isn't something that's going to, destroy their child's youth.
Yeah, right.
That's what I think about when I'm like looking at videos and things like that. I'm like, I don't trust PG-13 ratings. My kids will not watch PG-13 until they're like 18.
Yep.
Straight up G, just G and children's movies, and I've become obsessed with My Little Pony, and my daughter has too, and that's what we watch. I can't do anything else. Everything else is just borderline to me and too much. So I think it's great that you're taking that into consideration. And so I would ask you, I know that you've redone your website and you've done the character art and you've been playing around with reaching your target audience, I'm guessing on Instagram, right?
Well,
you haven't done Instagram yet. Well, there are a couple of tools to do that. One of them is Quotes Cover. It'll allow you to upload an image. You could put some quotes on there, and you can use your character art to make those yourself. Another one that's actually really great to use is Picmonkey, picmonkey.com, and you upload your image, and it will let you can lay out your text on it. You can do a little background. You could do a border. Set the size so that it's square, so it goes well on Instagram, and then you can post those up. Hashtags also. That's my tip for you. Hashtags rule Instagram. They seem silly on Twitter, they're annoying on Facebook, and I hate them in a newsletter. But on Instagram, apparently, that's how you get seen. I've been trying it out this week, and I've gone from like 3 to 7 likes to like 20 to 30 likes. People are really seeing my stuff, and they're following me and things like that. So use a hashtag. That's my tip of the day. So what other things do you think are you thinking about trying that maybe might be unique for a first-time author to try? Do you have anything, any cool tips for us?
Let's see. Well, I mean, one of the most recent things that I did. So this is something I've already done. I don't really have anything in the works right now that I'm waiting to unveil. I think the next thing that I'm hoping to kind of use to get some visuals out there is when we get the cover art done, which should be sometime soon within this autumn. But one of the neat things that I did recently was I actually did a Google Earth tour of some of the different places that were showcased in my book, and I had to get this thing going. There was a lot of wailing and gnashing of teeth because I had to figure out how to set up the tour, then I had to figure out how to do a screen capture and put that on YouTube. So it was a big learning curve. But it was just fun to try to think of what are new creative ways that I can, again, visually get content out there about my book that people would find interesting even if they haven't read it yet. And so I actually got a fair amount of mileage on the website after people saw that, because I don't know, I guess people like satellite images of Earth and like it's just kind of a cool thing. So that was kind of fun. But as far as some very interesting scheme that I have to get to content. I don't really have anything.
I think that was it. I have never thought about using Google Earth for anything except spying on my house to see what image shows up outside.
Yeah, that's a cool idea, definitely.
I like that. So Nathan, I'm gonna have to ask you to write a blog about that and like a quick how-to, because you said it took you a little while to figure it out. You got to tell us how you did that. Dianna, that question comes to you. What is a creative way that you've used to get information about your books out in the past? Have you used any?
I'm laughing because before you got on, or maybe you had just gone on, I have a publicist and she just kind of does everything for me, or a lot of stuff for me. She'll post, she put something about the new iPhone yesterday, and so I texted her, I was like, did you put that on? I just want to make sure nobody hacked into my account because I couldn't figure out why that would be there on my Twitter. And so she's like, no, that's very trendy. You want that. And so she explained. And I said, no, I totally trust you. I just wanted to make sure nobody hacked into my Twitter account. So she kind of does all of that. I mean, she knows what to, the trendy stuff to put on, and she kind of handles that, and she handles my Facebook. And whatever she tells me to do, I do. I have no question of, reservation at all. And the interviews that she gets me signed up for, the TV interviews and radio interviews, I just do. I know that she's got it under control, and that's kind of what I need, because then I can focus on the actual writing, which is really where not only my heart is, but where my experience and my skills are. If you ask me to do anything online, I'm like, oh no. So I need her. Between her and my husband, who is a software engineer, between the two of them, and they work together sometimes trying to help me, I'm good to go. So the two of them, they just tell me what to do, and I do it. So as far as what I have found, I found that was really the way to go for me, because when I first got my contract, I was like, oh no. I didn't know what I was going to do, because I'm not into that stuff, and I'm not into research. I'm not good at it. So she kind of handles all of that. And I actually had as you know, Rochelle, I had a big contract offer with B&H, but then they discontinued their fictional department, and then that's when you and I connected. So with B&H, with a big house like that, they take care of all that. But even then, even with one of the big houses, there's a lot that's left up to you. And I mean, not just doing it, but finding different ways, like you're saying, of getting out there. You talk about Instagram, and I'm like, oh no, I don't know about that. I don't know, that's something
Whoa,
new.
Nelly.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So I depend on Maria. And go ahead.
I think that even though you're dependent on all of these people, what I do find, though, Dianna, is that you're still fairly savvy. You know what you actually need help with and what you don't need help with.
Absolutely.
And so, when we're talking about publicists, how a good publicist is hard to find, that's one of those things, is that they'll start with building a simple website or something like that, or they'll start with trying to help you identify your target audience, or do a press release, or things like that aren't really, it's not really building up your publicity. It's not really getting readers to see you and know you.
Yeah,
they're just kind of spinning their wheels, wasting your money for a couple of months and not really getting anything done. And so
exactly.
You and I both know we have low tolerance for that. Get something done. I need to see some progress. Make some sales.
That's right. You and I were
make the money roll in.
Exactly. We're like, no, we have all of that done. We're at this step over here.
Yeah, I just need you to make some money. Okay, so we've probably got I'm going to take you guys for 2 more minutes. I'm going to let Bill talk real quick, and then I'm going to turn this back over to Sharon. So, Bill, really quickly, what's the most creative thing that you've done to promote your books, either for your dojo or for Ali's Little Song or anything?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we try a lot of stuff that doesn't always work.
You don't know?
This time,
weren't you the one that told me about book bars?
Yeah, BookBub. Yeah, I think this time I'm gonna have a Halloween contest. So if people dress up as one of the characters from one of the books for Halloween for kids, and then send in a picture, I'm gonna give them something cool for doing that. So Halloween's coming up. I'm just trying to think of what kind of prizes to give. So I think we'll go with that for now.
And if you get permission to use those pictures online, please ask. We can throw that on our Instagram and Twitter, and
There you go.
use it to promote the
Hashtag
book.
it.
That's awesome. Yeah. So I'll do the last one. So I think the most creative thing that I've done to promote the 7-Step Guide to Authorpreneurship is when I do my talks and my book signings and stuff like that, I actually am one of those people, I hate readings. I'm not really interested in going to a book event where someone's just reading from their book. I do it because I want to support other authors, don't get me wrong, but it's usually not my favorite. And so what I like to do is make it a little bit more interactive. And so the last one that I did, we were talking about launching your book and different things that you can do to launch your book, and how, essentially you should have already launched your book before book launch day. Book launch day is too late to launch your book. That event is not going to really throw you over the roof and make your book sales go up. It's just a celebration. It's just for fun. And so we sat down and we had a little session. I just got to sit on the stage, and we talked about creative ways to launch your book, creative events that you can do. Because if you take the stress factor out of it, how do I sell books? I need to sell books. I need to get books out. People need to buy them, and make it more fun. I had one person mention about skydiving, doing like a skydiving book signing event where they skydive in. And then we talked about going on a cruise, just like one of the little Portland Spirit cruises around the harbor. And there was one about, it wasn't a bouncy house. It was like one of those children's playground type things with the bouncy houses and the castles and the slides and that sort of thing. And they said, well, they think that's fun, so we can do like that sort of a thing and have like a little mini fair. And then the last one that I wanted to try, that I will continue to want to try eventually until someone does it for me, is a Valentine's Day book launch. To get a room with a little fireplace and do like, I think, Bill, you and Nathan probably saw it in my book, where you have a date with a book. And so you've got the book all wrapped up, and it's got just a little bit of information, just a little teaser. And then you guys take your book and you go sit down for $1 and you unwrap your book and you get to know your book and you see if you and your book are a good fit. And if you're not, then you get to choose one of the unwrapped books. But I'm throwing that out there. Someone please somewhere do it. Take pictures, send them to me so that I can live vicariously through you, because I don't think that my book will get written ever. I don't have time. But okay, so I'm going to give this back over to Sharon, because we are just about out of time, and I'm sure she's got some feedback and things that she wants to say to us. Hi, Sharon.
Hi, everybody. I am back. This is one of the best literary fellowships that I've ever had. And I want to thank everybody. Rochelle, you rock, girl.
Oh, thank you. Aw, shucks.
You rock, you rock. And the other thing that I want to say, oh, God, Nathan, I'm in love with you. Nathan,
he's married with children. He's married.
Oh, Nathan.
Sharon, calm down.
Nathan made me think about a play that I've written called Benjamin Thomas Resurrected. Benjamin Thomas Worthington Resurrected. And it talks about redemption. Oh, he made me think about that. And I really need to put it in book form, because it's a great read. It's a great read. It will probably be my first fiction novel. And I just want to thank you, Nathan, for reminding me of that. Yes, I know you're married. You're saved. Don't worry about that. You were saved. And Dianna, girl, you rock. Woo! You rock. Let me tell you, you are an award-winning author, and I want to celebrate you, because what you did was you had a teachable, or have a teachable spirit. I am so proud of you. I'm so glad you said that, because most new authors think that they've already arrived before they even crack the seal on their book. They fall in love with the prestige that's associated with being an author, but that's seduction. That's not real. It's temporal, and it's not lasting until you're in the trenches for a while.
I feel like we're all the same, and so I feel like we're all the same. So God looks at all of us the same. So there's really no one better than anyone else. So exactly, you hit it.
Absolutely. And Bill, ooh, Mr. Entrepreneur. Well, I just want to thank you for being on the show because you speak loudly to the fact that a book can lend credibility to what you do. I am an entrepreneur. I ghostwrite. And when I write, I mean, the first thing they want to see is my book. You know, they want to know, what did you write? Where are you published? What makes you an expert in your area? And you've not only done that, but you've also created a manual, curriculum, and an app. Oh, I am teetotally blown away. So, what I'd like to do is extend an invitation to everybody, including my buddy, Rochelle Carter. Y'all don't know, but my maiden name is Carter. So I think we're related, even though she married into the name. I think we're related some kind of way. But I'd like to extend an invitation for you all to participate in a compilation that I'm doing for authorpreneurs. Each one of you fit the bill for being an authorpreneur. And I'd love to get your take on what authorpreneurship is all about. So I'll be looking for you to contact me sooner or later. Whose baby is crying? Where is that?
That's mine. I'm sorry.
They need a midwife. Look, they need a midwife, and I'm the literary midwife. Okay. So I just want to say thank you all for showing up, for showing out, and being spectacular. I hope you feel the love. One question that I have for each one of you all. Can you tell me how your faith plays into your being an author? What does your faith have to do with it? Remember Tina's song, What Does Love Have to Do with It? So what does your faith have to do with what you do as an author? So we're going to start with Bill.
I would say that, this is just kind of a way to share things. And, my book, Alizelle's Song 2, it's not like a very literal book, and it really tries to blend a lot of ideas from science and religion together. I think a lot of people would dismiss a lot of religious ideas just kind of out of hand without really thinking about them, and maybe they think it contradicts something that we can empirically observe in the world, but I submit that it really doesn't. So this is kind of a way to just resolve those conflicts and look at things on a little bit deeper level.
Sounds good, Bill. Sounds good. Okay, Miss Dianna, what does faith have to do with you being an author?
Well, I love writing Christian in a way where it's not in the reader's face, because even Christians can be like, okay, that's too much, too over the top. And I've gotten fan mail from agnostics and atheists saying, no promises, but I'm starting to read the Bible because of your books, and I'm very interested in learning more. And so that's really exciting to me, because if I can reach, agnostics and atheists and maybe just take a look at faith and take a look at God in the Bible, then that's all worth it to me. And that's why I love writing in the inspirational market, but yet soft enough where I'm not in the reader's face.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. Okay, Nathan, you're up next.
For me, I would have to say that the books that have really helped me grow spiritually the most have been Christian fiction books. I mean, I think of writers like C.S. Lewis, and just the stuff that he's written, even though it's fiction, I mean, it's just helped me grow so much. So how do I blend the two? For me, it's kind of, I feel like it's a calling for me to tell God's story in just different and creative ways, to teach people things. Like, for instance, I'm a therapist, so again, I work a lot with kids and teenagers. And so I'm always trying to think of ways to creatively teach them something so that they'll really get it. And so that's where it really blends for me.
Wow, thank you. And Miss Rochelle, girl, what does faith have to do with it?
Wow. My whole company is my ministry, I feel. I've moved around a lot. I've done a lot of different things in life, but one of the things that I feel with Elacore and being able to publish authors like these three here and more is being able to share that message of togetherness and love that Jesus Christ has, making sure that it's not in your face in a negative way. That's a really big one for me, because I find that sometimes, people have this misconception about Christian fiction, about how it's all about some random come to Jesus moment that doesn't make any sense to anybody. And I avoid those. It has to make sense or we're not going to do it. And then, it's just, I feel like it's just my passion and my purpose. My passion, I love helping people, and my purpose is to spread the word of God. That's our whole mantra for Elacore, is live right. Go therefore, write it in a book so that it may be for all time. And so that's what we're doing, and that's what I've been doing with my books and what my authors do with their books. And it's why I keep trying to find new ways to help authors and to help more people get published. Because I think we can all share what we've got unique to the situation with everyone else.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you all so much for being on this show today. And, viewers, what I want to say to you is that we do what we do because we've been designed to write. And I celebrate you because what? Because you have the courage to move beyond the pen and to become visual and to become a mouthpiece, using the pen to promote the message of love and Jesus, whatever your message is. If you are a Christian, it's part of your DNA in whatever you do to promote the message of Christ. And so I just want to thank you for the courage to do so. And I want to thank Miss Rochelle Carter, my girlfriend from Oregon. I'm so glad to have you on the show today. And Bill and Nathan and Dianna, thank you so much. We appreciate you for what you do, and I pray God's blessings on you and ask Him to continue to prosper you in all that you do. We will be back here in October with playwrights. Yes, I'm going to have playwrights on in October, including myself. So stay tuned, because we're going to have a lot of fun. See you the third Saturday of every month at 10 a.m. The Literary Fellowship is in the house. Make sure you're there, because you don't want to miss something. Contact information for each of you all, please, starting with Bill.
I think the easiest is probably just go to billpottle.com. That's P as in people, O-T-T-L-E.
Dianna?
My website, www.diannatbenson.com. And thank you so much, Sharon, for having me. I enjoyed our time today.
I have enjoyed you all. Y'all rock. Okay, Mr. Nathan.
Again, my website, hopefully what you all see at the bottom of my screen there, www.nathanlombatis.com.
And Miss Carter, Mrs. Carter.
It's actually not Mrs. Carter, Miss Carter, because Carter is my maiden name. And I won't tell you my married name.
Why
because
not?
I'm petty.
No.
Because I'm petty. That's a hint. So my website is www.rochellecarter.com. That's www.ROCHELLE, D as in dog, actually, Carter, CARTER.com. And then you can also find us at www.ELLECHORmedia.com. That's www.elacoremedia.com. And you can find all three of these guys on there, all their books and everything in our shop, so buy a copy. Yay.
Yay. And thank you again for showing up today and showing out. I appreciate you. If you want more information about the Master Communicator or the Literary Fellowship, I want you to go to mcwritingservices.com. The Master Communicator Writing Services.com, www.mcwritingservices.com. Have a great weekend and know that we love you. Yay! Bye-bye.